First contact, unexpected visitors. The night sky over Montana blazed with an otherworldly light as Commander Sarah Chen peered through her binoculars. What had started as a routine evening at Malmstrom Air Force Base was rapidly evolving into something extraordinary. Streaks of purple and green danced across the atmosphere, forming intricate patterns unlike anything she'd ever seen. "Johnson, are you seeing this?" Sarah called out to her second-in-command. Lieutenant Mark Johnson nodded, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Yes, ma'am. It's beautiful. But what the hell is it?" Before Sarah could respond, a deafening boom shook the ground beneath their feet. In the distance, a massive object breached the cloud cover, its metallic surface gleaming under the eerie light show. As it descended, Sarah could make out its true form, a colossal ship, easily the size of a small city. "My God," she whispered, her military training momentarily forgotten in the face of this unprecedented event. "It's really happening. We're not alone." The ship continued its descent, eventually touching down in a nearby field with surprising grace for its enormous size. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Sarah and her team held their positions, weapons at the ready, unsure of what to expect. Suddenly, a hatch on the ship's underside began to open. Sarah held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, humanity's first glimpse of extraterrestrial life. But what emerged from the ship was far from the peaceful envoy they had hoped for. A swarm of sleek, insectoid creatures poured out, their chitinous bodies gleaming under the starlight. Each one stood nearly 8 feet tall, with multiple limbs ending in wickedly sharp claws. "Hold your fire," Sarah shouted, even as her instincts screamed at her to attack. They needed to attempt communication first, to understand the aliens' intentions. Her hesitation proved costly. The alien at the front of the group raised what appeared to be a weapon and fired. A bolt of energy streaked across the field, striking one of Sarah's soldiers squarely in the chest. The man crumpled to the ground, his body smoking. "Open fire," Sarah yelled, her voice filled with fury and determination. The night erupted into chaos as human weapons clashed with alien technology. As the battle raged, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, why? Why had these beings traveled across the stars only to attack without provocation? There was no time for philosophy now, though. Her duty was clear: protect her people, protect Earth. The skirmish lasted for hours, with casualties mounting on both sides. The aliens' advanced weaponry gave them an edge, but human ingenuity and resourcefulness kept the defenders in the fight. Sarah lost count of how many times she narrowly avoided death, saved only by the quick thinking of her comrades. As dawn broke, the aliens suddenly retreated to their ship. Sarah watched, exhausted and battered, as the massive vessel lifted off and disappeared into the sky. But she knew this was far from over. This was just the beginning. In the days that followed, similar reports came in from around the globe. The aliens, soon dubbed the Scourge by the media, had launched simultaneous attacks on multiple countries. The world was in shock, struggling to come to terms with this new reality. Sarah found herself quickly promoted and reassigned to a newly formed global defense initiative. As she sat in on high-level briefings, she learned the full extent of the situation. The Scourge had established beachheads on every continent, and more of their ships were arriving daily. "We're looking at a full-scale invasion," General Zhao, the Chinese representative, stated grimly. "Our conventional weapons are barely making a dent in their defenses." "Then we'll have to get unconventional," Sarah replied, her mind already racing with possibilities. "We need to pool our resources, share information. No more secrets between nations. It's time for humanity to stand united." The other military leaders nodded in agreement. Old rivalries and political differences were quickly set aside in the face of this existential threat. A global war room was established, with the brightest minds from every field brought together to find a way to combat the alien menace. As Sarah pored over reports and strategic assessments, she couldn't help but feel a glimmer of pride. Despite the dire circumstances, humanity was rising to the challenge. Scientists were working around the clock to understand alien technology. Engineers were devising new weapons and defenses. Even civilians were contributing, with a global network of hackers attempting to breach alien communications. But the scourge was relentless. Each day brought news of another city falling, another country struggling to hold the line. The aliens seemed to be everywhere at once, their superior technology allowing them to strike with devastating precision. Yet, in the face of these overwhelming odds, Sarah saw something remarkable happening. People from all walks of life, from every corner of the globe, were coming together. Ancient grudges were forgotten as former enemies joined forces against this common threat. It was as if the entire human race had suddenly remembered that they were all part of the same family. As Sarah prepared for another grueling strategy session, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in a nearby window. The woman staring back at her looked older, more weathered than she remembered. But there was a fire in her eyes, a determination that burned brighter than ever. "We will survive this," she murmured to herself. "We will win." Little did Sarah know that far above the earth, in the cold vastness of space, the Scourge were preparing for their next major offensive. The true test of humanity's resolve was yet to come. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, Sarah squared her shoulders and strode into the war room. Today, they would start turning the tide. Today, they would show the Scourge and the universe at large what humanity was truly capable of. The war for Earth's survival had only just begun. Preparing for war, Earth unites. The United Nations General Assembly Hall buzzed with attention unlike any in its history. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat shoulder to shoulder, their usual political divides forgotten in the face of humanity's greatest crisis. At the podium stood Dr. Aisha Patel, the newly appointed head of the Global Defense Initiative, GDI. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dr. Patel began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words, "we face an enemy unlike any we have encountered before. The Scourge, as we've come to call them, possess technology far beyond our current capabilities. But we have something they don't, the indomitable human spirit." As she spoke, holographic displays flickered to life around the hall, showing the extent of the Scourge's invasion. Red dots marked alien strongholds, spreading like a virus across every continent. "In the 3 months since first contact, we've learned much about our enemy," Dr. Patel continued. "They are not invincible. They can be hurt, they can be killed. But to defeat them, we must set aside our differences and work as one." In the audience, Commander Sarah Chen listened intently. She had been instrumental in gathering much of the intelligence Dr. Patel was now presenting. Her experiences on the front lines had shaped the GDI's early strategies. Dr. Patel outlined the Global Response Plan. "We are initiating Project Phoenix, a comprehensive strategy to not only defend against a Scourge, but to take the fight back to them." The plan was ambitious. It called for the complete restructuring of the global economy towards war production, the formation of an international scientific consortium to reverse engineer alien technology, and the creation of a unified Earth Defense Force. As the Assembly voted unanimously to adopt the plan, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. This was humanity at its best, united, determined, and innovative in the face of overwhelming odds. In the weeks that followed, the world transformed. Factories that once produced luxury cars now churned out armored vehicles and weapon components. Universities became research centers, their brightest minds working tirelessly to unravel the secrets of Scourge technology. Sarah found herself at the heart of this global effort. Her tactical acumen and first-hand experience with the Scourge made her invaluable to the GDI. She split her time between advising on strategy and overseeing the training of the new Earth Defense Force. One morning, as she observed a group of recruits from a dozen different countries training together, Sarah was approached by Dr. Marcus Reeves, the lead scientist of Project Phoenix. "Commander Chen," he greeted her, his eyes alight with excitement. "We've had a breakthrough. I think you want to see this." Sarah followed Dr. Rees to a secure laboratory deep beneath the GDI headquarters. Inside, a team of scientists huddled around what appeared to be a salvaged piece of Scourge technology. "We've managed to activate it," Dr. Rees explained, gesturing to the alien device. "It's some kind of energy shield generator. If we can replicate this technology, it could change everything." Sarah's mind raced with the tactical implications. How soon can we start production? "That's the best part," Dr. Reeves grinned. "We've already adapted it to work with Earth materials. The first prototypes should be ready for field testing within a week." As word of this breakthrough spread, a renewed sense of hope swept through the ranks of the Earth Defense Force. But the Scourge were not idle. Reports came in of increased alien activity, suggesting they were preparing for a major offensive. In a secure bunker beneath what was once Geneva, the GDI War Council gathered to plan their next move. Sarah stood before a holographic map of the world, outlining her proposed strategy. "The Scourge have established major hubs here, and here," she said, highlighting points in North America, Asia, and Africa. "Our intel suggests these are more than just military outposts. They're resource extraction sites. The Scourge aren't just here to conquer, they're here to strip our planet bare." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a war for survival, it was a fight for the very future of Earth. "We need to strike these hubs," Sarah continued, "not just to cripple their operations, but to send a message, to show them and ourselves that we can win." General Zhao, her once rival now turned staunch ally, nodded in agreement. "It's risky, but I believe Commander Chen is right. We need a victory, something to rally the people." As the council debated the details of the plan, Sarah's mind wandered to the recruits she'd been training. Many of them were barely out of their teens, thrust into a war beyond imagination. But their determination, their willingness to fight for a future they might never see, never ceased to amaze her. The meeting concluded with a decision. Operation Firestorm would commence in 72 hours. It would be the largest coordinated military action in human history, with simultaneous strikes against Scourge strongholds across the globe. As Sarah left the bunker, she paused to look at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Scourge ships lurked, waiting to rain death upon her world. But for the first time since this war began, she felt a glimmer of real hope. Humanity had always been at its best when faced with adversity. Now, with their backs against the wall, they were about to show the universe what they were truly capable of. Sarah's communicator buzzed, snapping her back to reality. It was time to brief her troops. In just 3 days, they would be on the front lines, fighting not just for their lives, but for the very soul of humanity. As she made her way to the briefing room, Sarah's resolve hardened. The Scourge had made a grave mistake in underestimating humanity, and they were about to learn just how costly that mistake would be. The stage was set. The pieces were in place. Operation Firestorm was about to begin, and with it, the true test of humanity's strength and unity in the face of cosmic peril. The battle begins. Humanity's ingenuity shines. The pre-dawn sky was eerily quiet as Operation Firestorm commenced. Across the globe, Earth's united forces moved into position, ready to launch simultaneous attacks on key Scourge strongholds. Commander Sarah Chen crouched in a stealth transport, her heart pounding as she went over the plan one last time. Their target was a massive Scourge hub in what used to be the Australian outback. Intelligence suggested it was a critical resource extraction and processing center for the aliens. Taking it out would deal a significant blow to the Scourge war machine. 60 seconds to drop. The pilot's voice crackled over the comm. Sarah looked at her team, a mix of soldiers from a dozen different countries, all united under the banner of the Earth Defense Force. "Remember," she said, her voice steady, "we have the element of surprise, but it won't last long. Hit hard, hit fast, and watch each other's backs." As the transport's doors slid open, Sarah was the first to leap out, activating her newly developed energy shield as she fell. The shield, reverse-engineered from Scourge technology, flickered to life around her, a shimmering blue barrier. The team landed silently on the outskirts of the alien complex. In the distance, massive structures loomed, their architecture a bizarre blend of organic and mechanical forms. Scourge drones buzzed overhead, oblivious to the human infiltrators. Sarah signaled her team to move forward. They had trained for this moment, rehearsing every step of the operation countless times. But now, faced with the reality of the alien stronghold, the true scale of their task became apparent. As they approached the perimeter, the first challenge presented itself, an energy barrier that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. This was where humanity's ingenuity would be put to the test. "All right, Martinez," Sarah whispered into her comm, "you're up." Corporal Elena Martinez, a brilliant engineer from Mexico, stepped forward. In her hands was a device that looked cobbled together from Earth and Scourge tech, because it was. She placed it against the barrier and activated it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hum, a hole appeared in the energy field, just large enough for a person to slip through. "Nice work," Sarah nodded, leading her team through the gap. Once inside, they moved swiftly towards their primary objective, the central processing hub. Along the way, they encountered their first Scourge patrol. The alien warriors were tall, insectoid creatures with multiple limbs and exoskeletons that seemed to shimmer and shift colors. Sarah raised her hand, signaling her team to hold position. They waited, breath held, as the patrol passed by mere meters from their position. Their adaptive camouflage, another product of reverse-engineered Scourge tech, kept them hidden. As they neared the central hub, alarms suddenly blared. Their presence had been detected. "So much for surprise," Sarah muttered. "All teams, execute Plan Delta." The Earth Defense Force sprang into action. Snipers took out key defensive positions, while assault teams engaged the Scourge warriors head-on. The aliens' superior technology was evident, but human tactics and adaptability kept them in the fight. Sarah led her team towards the heart of the complex. They fought their way through waves of Scourge defenders, their energy shields flickering under sustained fire but holding. The new weapons developed by the GDI proved their worth, piercing alien armor and disrupting their energy weapons. As they battled deeper into the facility, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity, faced with an overwhelming threat, had not only survived but adapted. They had taken alien technology and made it their own, combining it with human ingenuity to create something new. Finally, they reached the central processing chamber. It was a vast space filled with pulsating organic-looking machinery. At its center stood a towering structure that seemed to throb with energy. "That's our target," Sarah called out. "Plant the charges and let's get out of here." As her team moved to set the explosives, a massive figure emerged from the shadows. It was unlike any Scourge they had encountered before, larger, more heavily armored, with multiple limbs ending in deadly energy weapons. "Looks like we found the boss," Sarah grimaced, raising her weapon. The battle that ensued was fierce. The Scourge commander was a formidable opponent, its attacks devastating and relentless. Sarah and her team were forced to use every trick and tactic they had developed. In the heat of the fight, Sarah noticed something. The alien's movements, while powerful, were predictable. It relied heavily on its superior technology and strength, but lacked the adaptability that had become humanity's hallmark. "Martinez," Sarah called out. "The shield disruptor. On my mark." As the alien charged forward, Sarah waited until the last possible moment. Now. Martinez activated the disruptor, and for a split second, the alien's personal shield flickered. In that moment of vulnerability, Sarah and her team concentrated their fire. The Scourge commander fell, its exoskeleton cracking under the barrage. With the alien leader defeated, they quickly finished planting the charges. As they raced out of the facility, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. They had faced the enemy's best and emerged victorious. The Earth Defense Force evacuated just as the charges detonated. The Scourge facility erupted in a massive explosion, sending a plume of fire and debris into the sky. As Sarah watched the destruction from a safe distance, her comm crackled to life. It was General Zhao. Commander Chen, his voice was filled with excitement. We're receiving reports from around the world. Operation Firestorm was a success. We've dealt the Scourge a significant blow. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. This was more than just a tactical victory. It was proof that humanity could stand against the cosmic threat. They had taken the best technology a Scourge had to offer and improved upon it. They had faced a superior foe and found ways to overcome. As the sun rose over the Australian desert, casting long shadows across the smoldering ruins of the alien facility, Sarah knew that the tide of the war was beginning to turn. Humanity had weathered the initial storm and emerged stronger, more united, and more determined than ever. But even as they celebrated this victory, Sarah knew that the war was far from over. The Scourge would regroup, adapt, and strike back. And when they did, Earth would need to be ready. As she boarded the transport to return to base, Sarah's mind was already racing with plans for the next phase of the war. They had proven they could hurt the Scourge. Now it was time to show the aliens that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, not just on Earth, but across the stars. The battle for Earth had been won. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, turning the tide, reverse engineering alien tech. The Global Defense Initiative's primary research facility, hidden deep within the Rocky Mountains, buzzed with activity. Commander Sarah Chen strode through the corridors, her footsteps echoing off the reinforced walls. She was here to see the fruits of humanity's latest breakthrough in the war against the Scourge. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the lead scientist of Project Prometheus, greeted Sarah with a tired but triumphant smile. "Commander, you're just in time. We're ready for the final test." Sarah followed Dr. Tanaka into a vast chamber, filled with an array of alien technology salvaged from countless battlefields. At the center stood what appeared to be a Scourge fighter, its sleek, organic-looking design a stark contrast to the angular human equipment surrounding it. "Is that what I think it is?" Sarah asked, her eyes widening. Dr. Tanaka nodded. "The first fully functional human-piloted Scourge craft. We've not only managed to repair it, but also to integrate our own systems. It's a perfect fusion of their technology and our ingenuity." As they approached the craft, Sarah noticed the modifications. Human controls had been seamlessly integrated into the alien design, and familiar-looking weapon systems were mounted on its exterior. The neural interface was the biggest challenge, Dr. Tanaka explained. Scourge pilots are connected directly to their ships in ways we still don't fully understand, but we've adapted it to work with the human nervous system. Sarah ran her hand along the smooth surface of the craft. "And you're sure it's safe?" "As safe as anything in this war can be," Dr. Tanaka replied. "We've run hundreds of simulations. Now it's time for a live test." At that moment, a young pilot named Lieutenant Zara Okoro entered the chamber. She was one of the Earth Defense Force's top aces, with dozens of confirmed Scourge kills to her name. "Commander," Zara saluted crisply. "I'm ready for the test flight." Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of pride and concern. "Remember, Lieutenant, this isn't just about flying the ship. We need to know if our modifications will allow us to infiltrate Scourge formations undetected." Zara's eyes gleamed with determination. "Understood, ma'am. I won't let you down." As Zara climbed into the modified Scourge fighter, Sarah and Dr. Tanaka retreated to the observation room. Technicians swarmed around the craft, making last-minute adjustments and checks. Initiating neural link, Zara's voice came over the comm. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, with a low hum, the alien craft came to life. Its surface rippled and shifted, adapting to its new pilot. "Neural link stable," Dr. Tanaka announced, her eyes fixed on the readouts. "All systems nominal." Sarah leaned forward, her heart pounding. "Lieutenant Okoro, You have a go for launch. The chamber's massive doors slid open, revealing a long tunnel leading to the outside world. With a burst of energy, the Scourge fighter shot forward, disappearing into the tunnel in the blink of an eye. For several long minutes, the only sound in the control room was the steady beep of monitoring equipment. Then Zara's voice crackled over the comm, filled with awe and excitement. "Command, you won't believe this. The neural link, it's like I can feel every part of the ship. And the speed, I've never experienced anything like it." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "That's great, Lieutenant, but remember your mission. We need to know if you can blend in with actual Scourge craft." "Roger that," Zara replied, approaching the test area now. The test area was a section of airspace where a small Scourge patrol had been detected. It was a risky plan, but they needed to know if their modified fighter could truly fool the aliens. Minutes ticked by in tense silence. Then finally, Zara's voice returned. "Command, I've done it. I'm flying in formation with 3 Scourge fighters. They seem to have accepted me as one of their own." A cheer erupted in the control room. Dr. Tanaka pumped her fist in the air, while Sarah let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Excellent work, Lieutenant," Sarah said. "Return to base immediately." As Zara guided the fighter back to the facility, Sarah's mind raced with the implications of this success. They now had the means to infiltrate Scourge formations, to gather intelligence from the heart of enemy territory, and potentially to strike at targets that were previously unreachable. But more than that, this breakthrough represented something greater. It was proof that humanity could not only understand alien technology, but improve upon it. They were no longer simply reacting to the Scourge threat. They were innovating, adapting, and evolving. As the modified Scourge fighter touched down in the chamber, Sarah turned to Dr. Tanaka. "How soon can we start production on more of these?" The scientist's eyes gleamed. "With the data from this test flight, we can streamline the process. I'd say we could have a squadron ready within a month." Sarah nodded, her mind already formulating strategies. "Make it happen, and I want every scrap of Scourge tech we can get our hands on. If we can do this with their fighters, imagine what else we might achieve." As she left the facility, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the Scourge arrived, it felt like humanity had a real chance not just to survive, but to win. Little did she know that high above the Earth, in the cold depths of space, the Scourge were preparing a response to humanity's growing resistance. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and it would test the limits of human ingenuity and determination like never before. As Sarah boarded her transport back to GDI headquarters, she steeled herself for the challenges ahead. They had made a breakthrough, but the real work was just beginning. It was time to take the fight to the Scourge, to show them that humanity would not go quietly into the night. The stars awaited, and with them, the future of the human race. The final push, taking the fight to the stars. The command center of the GDI's orbital station, Aegis, hummed with activity. Holographic displays showed the positions of Earth's fleet and the looming threat of the Scourge armada. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the center, her eyes fixed on the tactical overlay. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the tension in the air. General Zhao stepped forward. "The Scourge fleet has entered the outer solar system. They're moving slowly, but their numbers are considerable." Sarah nodded grimly. The aliens had clearly been gathering their forces, preparing for one final push to crush Earth's resistance. But humanity was ready. "And our forces?" she asked. "All ships are in position," Admiral Lena Petrov responded. "The Artemis defense grid is online and fully operational." The Artemis grid was humanity's magnum opus, a network of satellites equipped with reverse-engineered Scourge weaponry, capable of engaging threats across the entire solar system. It was their best hope of thinning out the alien fleet before it reached Earth. Sarah took a deep breath. "All right, it's time. Initiate Operation Starfall." Across the solar system, humanity's defenses sprang to life. The Artemis grid lit up, lancing out with devastating energy beams that tore through the front lines of the Scourge fleet. Earth's own ships, a mix of retrofitted human vessels and captured alien craft, moved to engage. The battle that ensued was unlike anything in human history. The void of space lit up with explosions and energy weapons, a dazzling and terrifying light show visible even from Earth's surface. In the command center, Sarah coordinated the defense with a mixture of determination and calculated precision. She had trained for this moment, prepared for every contingency, but the sheer scale of the conflict was overwhelming. "Squadron Delta, watch your flank," she called out, noticing a group of Scourge fighters attempting to outmaneuver one of Earth's battle groups. "Artemis Station 17, redirect fire to Sector 9. Hours passed, and the battle raged on. Earth's forces fought valiantly, their newly developed technologies allowing them to go toe-to-toe with the alien invaders. But the Scourge's numbers seemed endless. "Commander," Lieutenant Zora Okoro's voice crackled over the comm. She was leading a squadron of the modified Scourge fighters they had developed. "We've identified what appears to be the alien command ship. It's heavily guarded, but if we can take it out..." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Do it. Take whatever forces you need. This could be our chance to end this." As Zora's squadron engaged the Scourge flagship, Sarah turned her attention back to the main battle. Earth's forces were holding, but just barely. They needed a decisive victory, and soon. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the command center. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. A technician called out, "They're trying to flank us." Sarah's mind raced. This was it, the Scourge's endgame. They were attempting to bypass Earth's main defenses and strike directly at the planet. "Redirect Artemis Stations 4 through 9 to the new threat," Sarah ordered, "and get me a direct line to Dr. Tanaka at Project Prometheus." As the battle raged around them, Sarah outlined a desperate plan to the scientist. It was risky, untested, but it might be that only hope. "You want to overload the Artemis grid." Dr. Tanaka's voice was incredulous. "Commander, the energy release could devastate half the solar system." "If we don't do this, there won't be a solar system left to save," Sarah replied grimly. "Can you do it?" There was a pause, then. "Yes, but we'll only get one shot at this." Sarah nodded. "That's all we need. On my mark." As she prepared to give the order that would decide the fate of humanity, Sarah's thoughts turned to all those who had sacrificed to get them to this point. The soldiers, the scientists, the civilians who had united in the face of cosmic threat. Whatever happened next, humanity had proven its worth among the stars. "Lieutenant Okoro, status report," Sarah called out. Zora's voice came back, strained but determined. "We've breached the flagship's defenses, Commander. We're going in." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. It was time. "All forces, this is Commander Chen. Initiate Omega Protocol. May fortune favor the bold." With that order, the final act of humanity's great war began. Zora's team infiltrated the heart of the Scourge command, while the Artemis grid powered up for one last, desperate attack. As energy built up across the solar system, the Scourge fleet pressed their attack, unaware of the trap they were flying into. Sarah watched the tactical display, her heart pounding. Everything hinged on perfect timing. "Now," she shouted. In an instant, the solar system lit up brighter than a supernova. The overloaded Artemis grid released a wave of energy that washed over friend and foe alike. For a moment, all communication ceased, all sensors went dark. When the light faded and systems came back online, the scene that greeted them was one of devastation and hope. The Scourge fleet was in disarray, many of their ships disabled or destroyed, and at the center of it all, the alien flagship drifted powerless. "This is Lieutenant Okoro." Zora's voice crackled over the comm, weak but triumphant. "Mission accomplished. The Scourge command is neutralized." A cheer went up in the command center. Against all odds, they had done it. The Scourge invasion was broken. As the remains of the alien fleet retreated, Sarah allowed herself a moment of relief, but she knew their work was far from over. The Scourge were defeated, but not destroyed, and humanity had taken its first, tumultuous steps onto the galactic stage. Looking out at the stars, Sarah Chen, commander of Earth's forces, felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had faced the ultimate test and emerged victorious. Now, a new chapter in human history was about to begin. The war was over. The age of exploration could finally start.